Hello everyone, welcome to Best Solutions English classes. This is Pratibha Anand. In this session, I am going to start a new chapter from Mohar Class 8, Unit 3. The chapter name is So What Are You Anyway? This chapter is written by Lawrence Hill, and Lawrence Hill is a Canadian novelist, essayist and memoirist. In this chapter, we are going to discuss about racial discrimination. That racial discrimination was based on physical color, means color of the body of different people. Firstly, you should know about the racial discrimination. What is racial discrimination? So, the word racial discrimination is used to describe unfair treatment of people because they belong to a different race from our own. And in this chapter, the main character, Carole, faces the same racial discrimination during her traveling by a plane. The main character of this story is Carole, a young girl. Now see the paragraph number 1. Carole settles in seat 12A beside the window, puts her doll on a vacant seat and snaps open her purse. Means Carole sits in seat 12A near the window and she keeps her doll on a vacant seat and snaps open. Snaps open means suddenly and quickly opens her purse. She holds up a mirror and from purse she holds up a mirror. She looks into her own dark eyes and after taking the mirror, she looks into her own dark eyes in the mirror. She examines her handful of freckles, which are tiny spots dotting her cheeks. Means after watching her eyes, she examines her handful of freckles. Freckles means patches or you can say small brownish mark. So she examines which are tiny spots dotting her cheeks, means she checks about the freckles which are tiny spots dotting her cheeks. She checks for pimples but finds none, means after checking her freckles she checks for the pimples but she does not find any pimple on her face. Only the clear complexion for that her father calls milk chocolate, and she finds her clear complexion for that her father calls her milk chocolate. So it is very clearly mentioned here that her complexion was of two colors, mixture of two colors. Milk is used for white color and chocolate color. Now see the next line. This is yours, I believe. A big man with a sunburned face is holding her doll upside down. Means when Carole was looking her face into the mirror, a big man with a sunburned face is holding her doll upside down. Means a big man came there and he holds her doll upside down, means with the top part turned to the bottom. ऊपर के हिस्से को नीचे की तरफ करते हुए उसने डॉल को पकड़ रखा था. एंड नाउ ही आस्क्ड टू कैरोल that I believe this is yours. Now he asked to Carole that I believe this is your doll. May I have her please? Says Carole says. Now Carole asked to him that may I have her please? May I take my doll back? He turns the doll right side up. A black doll? I never saw such a thing. Now that man turns the doll right side up, means he turns the direction of that doll, and he asked to Carole, a black doll? I never saw such a thing. Means your doll color is black and I never saw this kind of doll. Her name's Amy. May I have her please? Now Carole replies to that man that my doll's name is Amy and may I take my doll? Henry Norton, cries the man's wife, give that doll back this instant. Now the wife of that man cries, shouts, Henry Norton. Henry Norton is the name of that man. She shouts that give that doll back this instant, means you return that doll to that girl at once. Carole tucks the doll close to window. Now Carole keeps the doll close to the window. The man sits beside Carole, और वो व्यक्ति जो होता है वो कैरोल के बगल में बैठ जाता है. The woman takes the aisle seat and the woman sits on the aisle seat. Aisle seat means the seat near the long passage between rows of seats. Now see the line number 8. Don't mind him, the woman says, leaning towards Carole. Means now the wife of that man leaning towards Carole. Carole की तरफ झुक करके उससे कहती है, don't mind him. Means you don't give attention to that man's talk. By the way, I am Betty Norton and he is my husband Henry. After that, she gives her introduction to Carole that I am Betty Norton and he is my husband Henry. The man next to Carole hawks the armrest. Hawks the armrest means he spreads his arms completely over the armrest, and armrest is the place where you can keep your arms in rest position. You have seen in most of the chairs. So वो आदमी अपने हाथों को आर्म रेस्ट पे फैला लेता है. मीन्स आफ्टर दैट यू कैन नॉट सिट प्रॉपरली. एंड ही कीप्स लुकिंग एट हर एंड ही starts to keep looking at her, at Carole. Now see the line number 10. The stewardess passes by checking seat belts. Everything okay? Stewardess is the other word for air hostess. So stewardess comes there and after checking the seat belts, she asks that everything is okay. May I go to the bathroom? Carole asks. Now Carole asks to stewardess that may I go to bathroom? Do you think you could wait? We are about to take off. Now stewardess replies to Carole that if you can wait, so you wait for some time because we are going to take off. Now Carole replies okay. Now see the paragraph number 14. Carole looks out the window, sees the Toronto airport buildings fall behind and wonders if her parents are watching. Means Carole is sitting near the window, so she looks out of the window and she feels that all the buildings on the airport are going back because the plane is going forward. And she thinks that her parents are watching him. Say goodbye, she instructs Amy, waving the doll's hand. Say goodbye to mom and dad. Now she gives instruction to Amy, her doll, and she starts waving the doll's hand and say to her that you say goodbye to mom and dad. The engines charge to life. The engine charge to life means the engine is running on the runway before taking off. Her seat hums because the plane is running on the runway, so her seat vibrates. The taxi down the runway. Now the plane is running on the runway. She feels a hollowness in her stomach when they lift into the air. When the plane lifts into the air, she feels hollowness in her stomach. उसे खालीपन का एहसास होता है अपने पेट में. Her ears plug and stay that way until the plane levels out over pillows of cotton. Her ears block and stay in that condition until the plane stops rising after a while and continues to fly at the same height out of the clouds. Means जब तक कि प्लेन जो है वो एक इक्वल लेवल पे जाके उड़ने नहीं लगता है बादलों के पार, तब तक उसके कान बंद रहते हैं. They burn as bright as the sun. And the scene of that clouds are as bright as the sun. So that is what the other side of the cloud look like. Clouds look like. In this line, it is said that after going out of the cloud, it looks like just like burning sun or bright color of sun. Now see the line number 15. Excuse me, the man is talking to her. You can go to the bathroom now, you know. Now the man who is sitting beside to Carole, he said to him that now you can go to the bathroom. No, that's all right, Carole says. Now Carole replies to him that no, it's all right. Traveling all alone, are you? Now he asks to him that you are traveling alone. Carole swallows with difficulty because she is a very young girl, so she feels some difficulty and she swallows. Swallows means makes a movement with her throat as though swallowing something because she is nervous or frightened. डर के कारण से ऐसा लग रहा था जैसे वो कुछ निगलने की कोशिश कर रही है. Where do you live? He asks. Now that man asks to Carole that where do you live? तुम कहाँ रहती हो? Don Mills. It is a place name. Now Carole gives the reply that I live in Don Mills. Oh really? He says. Were you born there? Now the man again asks to her that oh really? क्या वास्तव में? Were you born there? Means that is your birthplace. Yes. Now Carole replies yes. And your parents? Now the man again asks to Carole that and your parents? Now Carole gives the reply, my mother was born in Chicago and my father was born in Tucson. Carole replies to the man that my mother was born in Chicago, कि मेरी माँ का जन्म स्थान शिकागो है and my father was born in Tucson. And you are going to visit your grandparents. Now the man asks again that are you going to visit your grandparents? She nods, means she gives the reply in yes, means I am going to visit my grandparents. And your parents let you travel alone. Now the man again asks to Carole that your parents allows you to travel alone. It's only an aeroplane ride and I am a big girl. Now Carole replies to the man that it is a simple ride of aeroplane and I am not a little girl that I can't do all that things. The man lowers the back of his seat chuckling. Now the man gets down back his seat chuckling, means he starts smiling. Chuckling means laugh quietly. He whispers to his wife. Now the man talks in a very low manner to his wife. Whispers means फुसफुसाना. तो वो फुसफुसा कर अपनी वाइफ से बात करता है. No, Carole hears her whisper back. You ask her. Now Carole hears the voice of his wife. She speaks no, means she will not ask anything to Carole. Carole yawns. Now yawns means to open the mouth wide and breathe in deeply, especially when you are tired. So Carole yawns means Carole जम्हाई लेती है, holds Amy's hand and goes to sleep. Or she holds her doll's hand, the name of doll is Amy, and goes to sleep और सोने लगती है. The clinking of silverware wakens her. Now the sharp sound of silverware. Silverware means silver coated something. The clinking of silverware wakens her. The sharp sound of silverware wakens her. उसको जगा देते हैं. Maybe stewardess came there to serve the food and the silver coated utensils sound wakens her. But she hears the man and woman talking about her. But Carole hears the man and woman both are talking about her. So she keeps her eyes shut. So she tries to convince them that she is sleeping. I don't know Henry, says the woman. Now the wife of that man says to him that I don't know Henry, कि मैं नहीं जानती Henry. Don't ask me, ask her. She again says this thing that I don't know, you ask her. I will not ask to him. I am kind of curious, he says, aren't you? Now the man asks to his wife that I am very much curious, मैं जानना चाहता हूँ. And aren't you means you don't want to know. Now see paragraph number 32. Carole can't make out the woman's answer. Means she cannot able to understand the talk and she is not understanding what the woman wants to say. But then she hears her say. But at once she hears, Carole hears her say. Means the woman says, I just can't see. कि मैं देख नहीं सकती हूँ. इट्स नॉट फेयर टू चिल्ड्रन मीन्स इट इज़ नॉट फेयर टू आस्क एनीथिंग लाइक दिस टू चिल्ड्रन. किसी भी बच्चे से पूछना उचित नहीं है. आई डोंट माइंड देम मिक्सड मीन्स शी सेज दैट आई डोंट माइंड देम मिक्सड, कि मैं उनको मिला हुआ नहीं मानती. बट द वर्ड इज़ नॉट रेडी फॉर इट, लेकिन ये संसार जो है इसके लिए रेडी नहीं है, तैयार नहीं है. दे आर नीदर वन थिंग नॉर द अदर मीन्स वे ना तो एक चीज़ है ना ही दूसरा. Henry, wake the child and see if she wants to eat. Now Henry says to his wife that wake the child means बच्ची को जगा दो and see if she wants to eat. और देखो कि क्या वो कुछ खाना चाहती है. Now see the line number 33. When the man taps her shoulder, Carole opens her eyes. I have to go to the bathroom, she says. When the man taps means थपथपाना. So when the man taps her shoulder, उसके shoulder को जब कैरोल के shoulder को वो आदमी थपथपाता है, Carole opens her eyes. I have go to the bathroom, she says. After waking up, Carole says that I want to go to the washroom. Now look at the page number 27. But they are going to serve the meal. The man says. Now the man says to Carole that you are going to the washroom and the crew member, the stewardess, are going to serve the meal. If she wants out, let her out. She is only a child. Now the wife of that man says to him that Henry, if she wants to go to the washroom, let her out. Means उसे जाने दो. She is only a child. वो एक बच्चा ही तो है. Carole grimaces. Grimaces means twists her face because she does not like what they said. Means Carole को ये अच्छा नहीं लगा सुन के कि she is only a child. She is definitely not a child. Means वो अपने आप को बच्चा नहीं मानती थी. She does not agree with this fact that she is a child because she wants to represent herself as a young lady. Once in the aisle, Carole realizes she has forgotten Amy, and when she reaches in the aisle means the passage between of the two rows. She realizes means she feels that she has forgotten her doll Amy. Means उसे realize होता है कि वो अपनी doll को seat पर ही भूल गई है. Now see the line number 38. Henry Norton hands her the doll. Now Henry Norton, the big man, gives the doll to him. There are you, and don't fall out of the plane now. There's a big hole down by the toilet. Now the man makes a joke to him that where are you going? You don't fall out of the plane. कि तुम plane से बाहर मत गिर जाना. There's a big hole down by the toilet because you are going to the washroom, toilet you are going, and there is a big hole downside of the toilet. Now see paragraph number 39. There is not, Carole says. Means when the man says to him that there is a big hole down by the toilet, so Carole replies there is not. Means वहाँ ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. There is not any such thing. Means at that place in the toilet there is not any this kind of hole. She heads down the aisle with an eye out just in case there is a hole after all. Means she was standing in the aisle area, so she checks there that here is not any kind of that hole. Coming out of the toilet, Carole finds the stewardess. Excuse me, miss, could I sit somewhere else? When she comes out, means when Carole comes out from the toilet, she asks to the stewardess and she asked to her, excuse me, miss, means please tell me, could I sit somewhere else? Means may I sit any other place? The woman frowns. Why? Means the stewardess surprised and she asked to Carole, why? Means क्यों तुम दूसरी जगह बैठना चाहती हो? I don't like the window. Now she gives the reply. Now Carole replies that I do not like the window. Means मुझे window वाली जगह पसंद नहीं है. Is that it? Is that the only reason? Now the stewardess asked to Carole that only for this reason that you don't like the window seat, you want to change the seat. Well, yes. Now Carole gives the reply, yes, I want to change my seat just because I don't like the window seat. Now see the line number 45. I am sorry, but we don't have time to move you now. We are serving a meal. Ask me later if you like. Now the stewardess gives reply to Carole that I am sorry and we cannot shift you from this place to any other place because we are serving the meal. Ask me later if you like means if you want to change your place, so you ask me later. मुझसे बाद में कहना. After Carole has eaten and had her tray taken, the man says means when Carole has eaten her meal and she has given her tray to stewardess, the man says, "What are you anyway? My wife and I were wandering." The man asked to Carole that my wife and I both are surprised that what are you? कि तुम क्या हो? Anyway, Carole blinks, sees the man's clear blue eyes and drops her head. Means because Carole is a very young girl, so she is not able to understand the meaning of that question. So she blinks her eyes. Blinks means to move the eyelids very quickly. पलके झपकाना जिसे हम कहते हैं. Carole blinks means Carole पलके झपकाती है. Sees the man's clear blue eyes and drops her head. और जो व्यक्ति होता है उसकी clear blue eyes की तरफ देखते हुए अपने सर को झुका लेती है. What do you mean? She says. Now she asks to the man that what do you mean? कि आपके कहने का मतलब क्या है? You know what are you? What race? Now the man again asks to him that you know कि क्या तुम जानती हो? What are you? तुम क्या हो? What race means from which race you belong. Race means group of that humans can be divided into according to the color of their skin and other features. Means the man wants to know her identity on the basis of her color. Now see the paragraph number 49. Carole's mouth drops. Race means she tries to understand what is the meaning of race. What is that? She does not understand because she is not understanding that what is the meaning of race. So she is not able to understand his question. Yet she senses that the man is asking a bad question. Even she is not able to give the reply of that question, but she senses कि उसे महसूस हो गया था that the man is asking a bad question, that the man is asking an unpleasant question. She wishes her mom and dad were there. Now she wishes that if her mother and father were there, they could be able to reply that man. They could tell what race means they can easily tell the answer of race. Means her parents can easily tell that from which race they belong. Now see the paragraph number 50. That doll of yours is black, Henry Norton says. That man, Henry Norton, says to Carole that the color of your doll is black. That's a Negro doll. That's race Negro. Now he defines to Carole that just because of black color, your doll belongs to Negro race. And what is the meaning of Negro? So you can see in your book that it is clearly mentioned that we should not use this word because this is an offensive word. यह एक आपराधिक शब्द माना जाता है because it discriminates the people on the basis of their color. What's your race? Now the man again asked to Carole that what is your race means from which race you belong. The question still confuses her. Because Carole is too young for this question and she never heard about the name race, so she is still confuses on this question. Put it this way, the man says, what is your father? Now the man turns his question and he says that put it this way कि तुम इसको इस तरह से समझो, what is your father कि तुम्हारे पिताजी क्या हैं. The question baffles her. Now again this question, what is your father, confuses to Carole. What is her father? Now she thinks that what is her father कि उसके पापा क्या हैं, उसके पापा हैं. He is her dad means वो उसके पापा हैं. He is her dad and every Sunday morning he makes pancakes for the whole family. Now she thinks that he is her dad and every Sunday morning he makes pancakes for the whole family कि वो उसके पापा हैं और हर संडे को उसके पापा पूरी फैमिली के लिए पैनकेक बनाते हैं. And lets Carole pour hot syrup on them and afterwards he tells her stories. और उसके बाद means when he bakes the pancake, Carole pour hot syrup on that pancake. And afterwards he tells her stories. और उसके बाद उसके father उसको कहानियाँ सुनाते हैं. Now see the line number 54. Norton leans towards Carole. Means Norton bends towards Carole. Norton Carole की तरफ थोड़ा झुकते हैं. Say you had a coloring book. Now again he starts that you had a coloring book कि तुम्हारे पास एक coloring की किताब थी. What color would you make your dad? Now he again asks the question to Carole that suppose you will have to make a picture of your dad. So which color would you choose for making his picture? I never use just one color. Now Carole gives the reply that for making a picture of my dad, I will never use just one color. कि मैं कभी भी अपने पिता की पेंटिंग बनाने के लिए एक कलर का यूज नहीं करूँगी. Okay, what color would you make his face? So Norton, after getting the reply, says okay. What color would you make his face? तुम उनका फेस किस कलर से कलर करोगी? Now she gives the reply brown. Means I will use brown color for making his face. And your mother? Now he again asks the question to Carole that for your mother which color will you use? Now see the paragraph number 59. Carole imagines a blank page. Means at the question of her mother's face color, Carole imagines a blank page. A blank page comes in her mind. What would she put in her mother's face? Now she thinks that which color she will use for her mother's face. She has to put something in there. Now she thinks that she will have to use any color at that page. She can't leave it blank because she cannot leave that page blank. I don't know because Carole is too much confused at this question, so she gives the reply that I don't know. Sure you do, Mrs. Norton says. Now Mrs. Norton says to Carole that sure you do, कि निश्चित तौर पर तुम कुछ तो करती. How would you color your mother's face? Now she again asks to Carole, how would you color your mother's face? कि तुम अपनी माँ का चेहरा किस कलर से कलर करती? Yellow. Now Carole gives the reply yellow. Means I will color with yellow. Now see the line number 62. Carole sees Mr. and Mrs. Norton look at each other. Means when Carole gives the answer about her mother's face color that she will use yellow color for her mother's face, Carole sees that Mr. and Mrs. Norton look at each other. कि Mr. and Mrs. Norton एक दूसरे की तरफ देख रहे थे उसके इस रिप्लाई पे. Is your mother Chinese? Mrs. Norton asks. Now Mrs. Norton asks to Carole that is your mother Chinese? कि क्या तुम्हारी माँ चाइनीज है? No. Now Carole gives reply that no, she is not Chinese. कि वो चाइनीज नहीं है. Are you sure you would color her yellow? Now Mrs. Norton again asks to Carole that are you sure? क्या निश्चित तौर पे you would color her yellow? कि तुम उनको yellow color से पेंट करोगी? No. Now she gives the reply no. What else might you color her? Now Mrs. Norton again asked to Carole, what else might you color her? Means तुम येलो नहीं तो किस और कलर से उनको कलर करोगे? What else? Now Carole thinks that which other color she can use for her mother's face in place of yellow. Carole feels ashamed at her stupidity. Means Carole feels ashamed. उसे शर्मिंदगी लगती है. At her stupidity means at her stupid answer that she said that I will color my mother's face with yellow color. A tear races down her cheek. उसके गालों पर आंसू आ जाते हैं. Red, she says finally. Now she has finally given the reply that she will color her mother's face with red color. Red, you can't color a face red. Now Mrs. Norton says to Carole that you cannot color a face with red color. कि तुम red color से किसी का चेहरा नहीं रंग सकती. Is your mother white? Now she again asks that क्या तुम्हारे मदर का कलर वाइट है? Is she like me? Means she looks like me. Her face, is it the same color as mine? Means she again asked the same question, that your mother looks like me in color. Yes. Now Carole gives the reply, yes. And your father's brown. Now Mrs. Norton again asked that your father is of brown color. Carole notes, means Carole gives the reply in yes. When you say brown, do you mean he's a Negro? Now Mrs. Norton asked to Carole that when you say that your father's color is brown, so do you mean he's a Negro? क्या वो Negro हैं? Yes, of course, her father is a Negro. Now Carole thinks that हाँ, मेरे पिता वास्तव में Negro हैं. If Mrs. Norton wanted to know all along if her dad was a Negro, why did not she just ask? Now Carole thinks that if Mrs. Norton wanted to know only this thing, that her father was a Negro, why she did not directly ask the question? Why she is asking about race, drawing and coloring like this? Now see the line number 74 on page number 29. So you are mixed, Mrs. Norton says. Now Mrs. Norton says to Carole that you are mixed, means you are mixture of two races. You are a mulatto. Mulatto means someone with one black parent and one white parent. But we should not use this word because it is an offensive word. Carole's lip quivers, means Carole's lips shook slightly because she was upset. What is a mulatto? Now she thinks, what is a mulatto? Means she doesn't know the meaning of mulatto. Why do they keep asking her what she is? Now she thinks, why they want to know about me? Why they are asking again and again, who am I? She is not anything. She thinks that I am so nothing. Is that it? You are a mulatto. Now that couple again asked to Carole that you are a mulatto. Is that it? क्या ऐसा है कि तुम mulatto हो? You know what a mulatto is. Now they again asked to Carole that do you know what is the meaning of mulatto? Don't you? Means you don't know about this word. Haven't your parents taught you that word? Now they ask that have you not your parents taught you? Means तुम्हारे माता पिता ने तुम्हें नहीं सिखाया है इस वर्ड के बारे में. Approaching with a cart of juice, the stewardess looks up and smiles at Carole. Means when they were asking too many questions to Carole, that time the stewardess came there with a cart of juice, with a trolley of juice. The stewardess looks up and smiles at Carole, means वो Carole की तरफ देखती है और मुस्कुराती है. That gives her a rush of courage, and that smile gives a rush of courage, means उसको साहस, Carole को साहस देते हैं. Leave me alone, she screams at Mrs. Norton. Means after getting courage from stewardess smile, Carole screams, Carole shouts at Mrs. Norton, leave me alone, कि मुझे अकेला छोड़ दो. Passengers stare. Now passengers start staring towards her. The stewardess spills a drink. Means the stewardess spills a drink. Mrs. Norton sits back hard in her seat, her hands raised, fingers spread. Means after listening her voice, Mrs. Norton shifts back side of her seat and her hands raises automatically, fingers spread. Carole sees people watching and Carole looks that people are watching towards her. Now see the line number 80 on page number 30. Why do you keep asking me if my dad is Negro? Now Carole becomes too much angry on that couple, so she asks that what is the problem with you if my dad is Negro? So why you are asking too many questions about my dad? Yes, he is Negro. Okay, okay. Negro, Negro, Negro means she repeats that word. Calm down, anger. Mrs. Norton says, reaching over. Now Mrs. Norton says to Carole, calm down. Don't touch her. The stewardess says. Now the stewardess says, don't touch her means don't touch to Carole. Who are these people? Someone says from across the aisle means from the other side of that passage. Someone says, who are these people? कि ये कौन लोग हैं? Imagine talking to a child like that and in 1970 means they are surprised to see all that situation and they say that imagine talking to a child like that कि एक बच्चे से इस तरह से क्वेश्चन कर रहे हैं ये कौन लोग हैं और वो भी 1970 में. Now see the line number 84. One woman sitting in front of Carole stands up and turns around. One means one woman who sat in front of Carole, she stands up and turns towards Carole. Would you like to come and sit with me, little girl? That woman feels with sympathy towards Carole and she asked to Carole that do you want to come here and sit with me, little girl? कि क्या तुम मेरे पास आकर के बैठना पसंद करोगी? No, Carole shouts. Means when the lady asked to Carole that would you like to come and sit with me, Carole gives her reply in a shouting manner, no, means she does not want to go there. I don't like all these questions. She again speaks that I do not like these kind of questions. She keeps asking me how I would color my parents in a coloring book. Now she talks about Mrs. Norton. She keeps asking me, now she is telling that Mrs. Norton is asking me how I would color my parents in a coloring book. कि वो मुझसे पूछ रही हैं कि मैं अपने पेरेंट्स को किस कलर से कलर करूंगी in a coloring book, अपनी कलरिंग बुक में. Why do you keep asking me that? Now she asked the question to Mrs. Norton. Why do you keep asking me that? Means आप मुझसे ऐसे क्वेश्चंस क्यों पूछ रही हैं? Mrs. Norton pleads with Carole to stop. Now Mrs. Norton requests to Carole to stop. कि Mrs. Norton अब Carole से रिक्वेस्ट करती हैं कि वो चुप हो जाए, रुक जाए. How would you like it if that happened to you? Carole says. Now Carole asked to Mrs. Norton, how would you feel? How would you react if you faced the same situation? So what are you anyway? Now she asked to Mrs. Norton, what are you? तुम क्या हो? What are your parents? तुम्हारे पेरेंट्स क्या हैं? How would you color them? तुम उनको किन रंगों में कलर करोगी? Well, I don't care. I don't even care. Now she says about herself that I don't care. कि मैं इसकी कोई भी केयर नहीं करती. I don't even care means I don't care about all these questions. How would you like to come and sit with me? The stewardess says, smiling. Now the stewardess asks to Carole in a smiling manner that how would you like to come and sit with me? कि तुम्हें मेरे पास आकर बैठना कैसा लगेगा? I will make you a special drink and I offer you a special drink. Have you ever had a Shirley Temple? क्या तुमने कभी भी Shirley Temple पिया है? Shirley Temple means a sweet and sour syrup that is topped off with a cherry. Carole nods enthusiastically. Already she feels better. Now Carole gives her answer in an enthusiastic manner and she says yes. Already she feels better. अब उसे काफी अच्छा फील हो रहा था. Clutching Amy, she passes by the Nortons who swing their legs to let her out. And after holding her doll Amy, she passes by the Nortons means वो Nortons के पास से होकर निकलती है. Who swing their legs to let her out, जो अपने पैरों को स्विंग करते हैं, पीछे कर लेते हैं, to let her out, उसे निकलने के लिए. My God, Carole hears Mrs. Norton tell her husband. Now Carole hears that Mrs. Norton says to her husband, my God. Talk about sensitive means that talk was very sensitive. Means Mrs. Norton wants to say that the issue was not as big as it was made by the little girl, but it shows her insensitive behavior towards that girl. Hope you understood the chapter in an easy way.